Hello, my name is Victoria and welcome to Clarinet for Beginners. So the first two things you're going to want to grab out of your case is your upper stack and your bottom stack. Your upper stack is the one that has these side keys that go in a straight line right here, and then your bottom stack has these ones that are in a sort of square shape and they have the thumb rest on the back. So the first thing you want to do is hold down your D key on the upper stack, which is right here. That pulls up this little piece, which allows for easy sliding right in there. That way this bridge doesn't get broken. You can tell that it's connected properly by pushing any keys from the bottom stack, and they should make it move up and down. The next piece you add on is your bell, which is like this. You just take that and you put it on the bottom stack, just slide right on. Then the next piece goes on top of your upper stack, which is your barrel, which is this piece. You just slide that one on as well. Last but not least is your mouthpiece. So make sure that this hole is lined up at the back of the instrument, which has the thumb rest on it, and then these other two keys. So you just slide it on like that. The last two pieces is your ligature. So your ligature is a little metal thing that comes in here that goes on top of the mouthpiece, like this. Some of them face separate directions, so you might have to take a second to figure out which way it goes. And then you'll put your reed on. While you're putting together your instrument, you should have your reed in your mouth. That way it's getting soaked properly. And then when you're putting it on your mouthpiece, you want to make sure you pull your ligature up a little bit so there's space. And then you just slide with the thicker end and down onto the bottom. Just, like this. Just slide it on in. Then you line it up just so that the reed barely touches, should be barely reaching the top of the mouthpiece. Then you just tighten it in. Now you're all set up. Posture for the clarinets is like most other instruments, so obviously you want your upper body to be straight up and down like you have a pole running through it. And then when you bring your instrument up to your face, you want to be 35 degrees away from your body. Like this. Your hand position on the clarinet is a little tricky. You first have your thumb rest right here. So you place your thumb from the knuckle to the tip. You try to put that spot right up against the middle for support. You then curl your fingers around, and you have your index finger here, then your middle finger, and then your ring finger, and then your pinky will use all four of these keys. Then the top hand, you have this back key here, so you set that at about a 2 o'clock angle so that you'll be able to cover this hole properly with the pad of your thumb and then be able to press your register key properly. And then you have your index finger on this key, and then your middle finger, and then your ring finger will cover this hole that doesn't have an extra key on top of it, so that one is really important that you cover properly. And then your pinky will be free to use these 4 keys that are right here. An important thing is to have your fingers curved, and you also need to make sure that you're not using like the tips of your fingers or like around the knuckle, your first knuckle, to hold down the keys, because it's really inconsistent to hold them down, and like there's a lot of air leaks that happen. So you want to make sure you're using the pads of your fingers to hold them down. A lot of things that beginners struggle with when they're holding their clarinet is they want to slouch because it's more comfortable, or holding the instrument hurts their hands, so they like to rest it on their knee, or they try to like squeeze the bell between their legs and their knees and try to hold it that way. But you need to have your feet like shoulder width apart on the ground, and then your instrument at a 35-degree angle, and you're all set to go. To properly form your embouchure, you start by folding your bottom lip over your bottom teeth and firmly having it set there. So it should flatten out right here along your chin, and then you take your top teeth and you rest them on top of the mouthpiece, like this. Don't bite. Never say the word bite. You just gently rest it on the mouthpiece. So you curve your bottom lip, have the top teeth touch, and then you pull your corners in nice and tight like a drawstring bag. So, okay. And then you have your flat chin as well. A lot of things that beginners have issues with is making sure you keep your bottom lip firm, making sure your corners are in tight, and then trying to bite down hard on the mouthpiece. To produce a proper sound on the clarinet, you start by putting the mouthpiece in your mouth, but when you place it, you may want to make sure you use about 1/3 of the mouthpiece. So you set your embouchure, so from lip, on the reed, teeth, right on the top of the mouthpiece, and then you tighten your corners. Then basically you just blow. If you're having issues blowing, that's usually because you don't have enough mouthpiece taken in, so there's not enough reed vibrating, or you're having air leaks in the corners, which means your mouth isn't filled enough. So. A lot of other common problems with producing a sound is you're not covering your holes properly when you're playing your notes. So when you're playing your clarinet, you don't want to play with the tips of your fingers or the knuckles right here. You want to make sure you're playing right with the center of your pads of your fingers. So you take it down, and if you want to check to see where you're placing your fingers, you just kind of squeeze on the holes and then take them off quickly and look. You can see where the little circles form on the pads of your fingers, and if it's actually on the pads, then you have them placed properly. If your corners are tight and your embouchure is set properly, but you're still having issues creating a sound, it might be due to not having a fast enough airstream. So make sure you're blowing it fast and then straight down into the instrument to get a proper sound. Last but not least, you have articulations. So you start your airstream going through your instrument, and then you take the tip of your tongue and you touch it to the tip of your reed, and that is what's considered an articulation. So rather than stopping your airstream, you're interrupting your airstream with your tongue touching the reed, and that's what is considered an articulation. A lot of beginners struggle with this by not using the tip of their tongue. They're using more of the middle, which has a lot heavier sound, and once you start going faster, it's really difficult to get the middle of your tongue to move that fast rather than the tip. And another issue that beginners have is anchor tonguing, where they keep the tip of their tongue tucked behind their teeth, and then they bring it forward when they need to articulate, so that eventually slows down the articulation process.